Transfiguration Movement number 8. Faith, Trustworthiness, and Obedience by Mikhail Korbanyahu. As Yah is great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of Yah, behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed than the fat of rams. 1 Samuel 15 verse 22. Now before we get into the depth of faith, trustworthiness, and obedience, we need to digress and revisit a powerful and often overlooked truth from this passage, where the prophet Shemuel rebukes King Shaul. As we have already covered, the Hebrew word Shema means not just to hear, but to listen with intent and act accordingly, to hear and obey. The word kasab means to give careful attention, to incline one's ear with purpose. When King Shaul chose religious performance over covenant obedience, he proved untrustworthy. He heard, but he didn't obey. He acknowledged Yah's word, but he didn't hold the line. His failure wasn't just disobedience. It was a breakdown of faith, a collapse of trustworthiness, and a rejection of the spiritual attentiveness Yah requires from its leaders. Shaul's downfall teaches us that obedience begins with reverent listening, which we've said is spiritual. Obedience is sustained with faithful action and manifests as enduring trustworthiness. Without all three, faith, trust, and obedience, our calling will collapse under pressure. Shaul's story sets the tone for why this conversation matters now more than ever. Relative to our present time, it is without question that anybody who's been in the way for however long knows that the walk isn't easy. Though simple, given the instructions that are provided, putting it all together and living life in accordance with the will of Yah is entirely a different matter. This is because faith is a lifestyle that requires awareness, commitment, consistency, endurance, mastery, transformation. On top of this, we also know that we can all talk a good game about how much faith we got when the sun is shining and everything feels good. But when the temptations, trials, and tribulations come, and like my last article stated that they will come, that's when real faith, trustworthiness, and obedience are put to the test. This is the reason that I'm presently knee-deep into my 90-day transfiguration journey right now. For me, this is a season of conscious sublimation, a time to overcome old traumas, past habits, and inner battles through the active practice of faith, trustworthiness, and obedience. And let me tell it to you straight with no chaser. Already, this walk is changing my life. I'm not as flippant as I once was. I'm not as emotional as I once was. I'm not as impulsive as I once was. I'm not as compulsive as I once was. I'm not as uncertain as I once was. I'm now more focused, balanced, connected, controlled, and centered. And all this in just 15 days. I'm excited to see who I become after the full 90. And as I'm seeking to understand how this is unfolding more and more, I've been on a mission digging deeper into what all of these words really mean. So in this article, we're going to examine the matter of faith, trustworthiness, and obedience from a Hebrew's lens, and from a spiritual foundation, and from the blood, sweat, and spirit of real-life application. First, however, let's take into serious account that faith isn't about feeling good when life looks rough. It's not about closing our eyes and hoping for the best. True faith, the kind that built nations, parted seas, and moved mountains, is built on substance, evidence, and obedient action. It's anchored, it's real, it's rooted, and it's heavy like a foundation stone. To really get it, we got to go back to the beginning. And by the beginning, I'm not talking about back to 17th century Western Christianity, where faith got watered down into emotional optimism. Nah, son. I'm talking about the ancient Hebrew culture, where every word was a picture, a vibration, a portal into how all of creation actually works. And there, we will go shortly. But speaking of vibration, I recently had a Facebook interaction with one of my Muslim Akeem about how offering true resistance to the beast system is rooted in the power of higher vibration. I know this might seem really tangential, but after you check the flow of the interaction, I'll connect it to the topic of this article for you. I said, quote, the real resistance to the beast system is vibrational. My brother said, what does vibrational mean? And how is it effective and practical in application? I asked, you good, Doc? Your questioning lately has been interesting to say the least, as I'm feeling like there's been a shift in your consciousness regarding comprehensive awareness and the silver line of truth that is found in all that is life. He says, yeah, I'm definitely good, LOL. And yes, there's been a shift. I'm a Muslim. Just curious to what vibrational means to you and how it could be explained to the layperson. Is it something practical that can be applied to someone's everyday life? If so, how? I know you're a deep thinker and study the deeper meanings of things, but to someone who wants to actively change, how would it be applicable for them? I say, got you. Thanks for the clarification. In essence, it's about conscious and intentional alignment with purpose, returning to source energy and not capitulating to the diversions and energy drains that the program is running. For ourself, it's as simple as redirecting my sexual energy and being aware of triggers so I can pivot from defaulting to lower reactions of artificial and immediate gratification, which is a waste of life force energy, to sublimation, channeling and conversion of energy to more productive and creative means. What this does, resistance-wise, is shift the balance of control from worldly to heavenly, carnal to spiritual. The beast system simply wants to keep humanity trapped in beast mode so we can continue hurting and culling the masses. When we shift our vibration to Eloah, Allah, Aloha mode, we're out of reach and unable to be controlled by their schemes and subtle mind control tactics. This way, the Most High vibration/spirit is in control. The adversary, Satan, is rendered powerless. 1 John chapter 3, verses 7 through 10, Selah. With this interaction, I wanted to point out that faith is not only a belief, but also a perspective, a mindset, even an ideology. Ultimately, faith is forged in the image of Elohim, something that we discussed prior, in that our faith reconnects us to the image of Elohim, which allows for our perceptions to become absolutely clear from any distortions or aberrations that the world seeks to cast on the light of life. And all too often, perceptions of life are curtailed due to lack of faith and inability to use associative thinking to connect the dots. This is what leads to prophetic consciousness, a matter we will address in a future article. But for the sake of capturing the gist of the matter, faith is found functioning from a mind that perceives and is able to carry out the providential will of heaven's host. That faith leads to prophetic consciousness, in short, is a matter of fusing the knowledge of Elohim with understanding in order to exercise wisdom. Being that we were created in the image and likeness of Elohim, as Genesis 1:26 through 27 declares, let us come to the acknowledgement that this image isn't about physical form. The image of Elohim, rather, is the basis of faith. It is about spiritual perception, the ability to think, discern, and align with higher reality. Faith is the functioning power of that image. Faith allows the mind to perceive reality not just as it appears, but as it is intended to be seen and engaged according to the word of Elohim. When our eyes see barriers, faith sees doors. Where the carnal mind sees emptiness, faith sees the seeds of fulfillment. As it says in 2 Kings chapter 6, verses 17, when Elisha prayed for his servant, "Oh Yah, please open his eyes that he may see." It was then that the young man's spiritual eyes were opened to the armies of fire surrounding them. That's faith. Faith is the ability to perceive what the natural eye cannot. The sages teach in Pirkei Avot 4 verse 1, who is wise? One who sees what is born. True faith, true wisdom, fueled by faith, is the ability to see the end from the beginning, to perceive outcomes not yet manifest, and to act accordingly. Walking in faith, then, is walking as a son or a daughter, fully activated in the image of the Creator, thinking its thoughts, seeing its vision, moving by its design. So now, let's dig deeper into the essence of faith with Hebraic consciousness. The Hebrew word for faith is emunah. And with this word, as with all others, each letter speaks. Aleph, strength, leadership, oneness. Mem, water, chaos, flowing trials. Vav, hook, connection, binding heaven and earth. Nun, seed, continuation, life through struggle. Hey, breath, revelation, opening to spirit. Putting that all together, faith is the strength to endure the chaos, stay connected through trials, grow continuously, and receive the revelation of the Spirit of the Most High. That, beloved ones, is what the Torah identifies as faith. Furthermore, Hebrews 11:1 gives us the clearest working definition of faith in Scripture. Quote, now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Faith isn't some wish floating around in the air. It's substantial evidence. In real life, this means faith is something you can stand on, build with, and trust like a foundation stone. Faith is when the vision inside your spirit is so strong, so rooted in the word of Elohim, that even when you find your back against the wall, when the doctor's report is grim, when your surroundings look bleak, you still move forward based on the reality that you know by faith exists beyond the surface. Faith is living in full expectation of the promise because you already have the evidence written inside you. Just like an architect doesn't have to see the finished skyscraper to know it will stand based on the blueprint and the calculations. We move through life based on the kingdom's blueprint, the word, the promises, the blessings, and the proven track record of Elohim's faithfulness across generations and across time. Let me clarify something that someone may have misunderstood. Faith is not about believing in what you can't see. It's about staying loyal to what Yah already showed you in the spirit with the word, even when circumstances seemingly scream otherwise. In its full scope, faith isn't fantasy. Faith is fidelity. Faith is like a bull-headed person fully dedicated to a sports team in spite of their losing seasons. Faith is a stubborn, resilient loyalty to what the Most High has shown you, even when everything and everyone around you tries to make you doubt. Faith is weathering the storm that you have prepared for previously, knowing that there are conditions that have shown the inevitable moment approaches. By Emunah, Noah, having been warned of what was yet seen, having heard, prepared an ark to save his house, through which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness which is according to Emunah, Hebrews 11:7. Just like a martial artist who is prepared and practiced tirelessly to earn their black belt, so it is for the one who has labored to become firmly established in and with faith, which is when the real work begins. In other contexts, faith is Eob rebuking his wife for encouraging him to give up living because of the trials that he was experiencing. Quote, and his wife said to him, do you still hold fast to your integrity? Curse Elohim and die. But he said to her, you speak as one of the foolish women speaks. Indeed, should we accept only good from Elohim and not accept evil? In all this, Eob did not sin with his lips. Eob 2, verses 9 through 10. When we realize that Eob's integrity was derived from his faithfulness, his comprehension of the immeasurable wisdom and ultimate sovereignty of El Elyon, we come to know and accept that he moved the way he did because his faith was not based in emotion. Faith, an immovable mindset, is something rooted in steadfastness and training. Emotions, however, are as vacillating as Kansas City during the spring. One moment it's warm, the next you need a hoodie, gloves, and scully. With faith is like well-designed architecture. It's the frame in which your soul was designed to be built. Solid, stable, secure, strong, substantial. So let's keep on building. If faith is the architecture, the house, then trustworthiness is the foundation stone and the weight bearing beams that keep the house standing no matter what hits it. Trustworthiness isn't something you claim with your mouth. It's something you prove with your fruit. We see this example, again, best exemplified by our Messiah. Yeshua ben Yosef. Hebrews 3 verses 1 through 6 informs us to consider his way of life. Therefore, set apart, brothers, partakers of the heavenly calling, closely consider the emissary and high priest of our confession, Messiah Yeshua, who was trustworthy to him who appointed him, as also Moshe and all his house. For this one has been deemed worthy of more esteem than Moshe, as much as he who built the house enjoys more respect than the house. For every house is built by someone, but he who built all is Elohim. And Moshe indeed was trustworthy in all his house as a servant, for a witness of what would be spoken later. But Messiah as a son over his own house, whose house we are if we hold fast the boldness and the boasting of the expectation, firm to the end. The writer of Hebrews lays it out plainly. Messiah Yeshua, our emissary and high priest, is the master builder. Additionally, he was and is trustworthy in all of his duties, perfectly loyal to the one who appointed him, even under the crushing weight of betrayal, suffering, and the lynching tree. Moshe, our righteous ancestor and teacher, was also trustworthy as a servant in Elohim's house. In that house, well, we are that house, if we hold fast with boldness and are doggedly determined to not let go of the expectation or the promised and blessings of life, light, and love set before us. So if Yeshua is trustworthy over the house, and we are the house, then our ultimate calling is to become a trustworthy dwelling place for the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit. And as I've said before, this isn't theology. This is the blueprint for life. Building the house is not just about external appearances of righteousness. It's about internal faithfulness. It's about laying bricks of loyalty day after day when it's easy and when it's not. It's about becoming the house where Yah's esteem rests, not because of what we say, because of what we prove by how we live. And that's why this next insight is so critical. Unlike the emotionally imbalanced religious experience of the Christian experience, in many circles that passes as faith, in Hebrew culture, Emunah doesn't just mean having a feeling of trust. It literally describes someone who is consistent, reliable, loyal to the truth even under pressure. Someone who holds the line when everybody else folds is what is called faithful. Someone who guards the flame of the word inside their heart even when the storm rages all around them. That's faithfulness. It's like Proverbs 26 says, quote, many a man proclaims his own loyalty, but who can find a trustworthy man, end quote. In other words, everybody talks loyalty until loyalty costs them something. But faithfulness is trustworthiness that stands rooted even when the fire gets hot. And this is where loyalty and obedience comes in the picture. The word in Hebrew, obed, means more than just to do. It means to serve, to work, to cultivate. That's because obedience isn't passive compliance. It's the active cultivation of covenant life. The Hebrew letters reveal to us even more meaning. Ayin, I, see the truth. Beit, house, built according to the truth. Dalet, door, move into the destiny Yah opened for you. Obedience is the continual construction project of your soul, laying one stone at a time, one prayer at a time, one fast at a time, one righteous decision at a time, until your inner man is rebuilt into the true temple of the Ruach HaKodesh. Obedience happens when our eyes see the truth of the house built and the door to enter that our Father has opened for us. It then becomes our responsibility to tend to the house and carry out all of the prescribed duties and tasks that have been laid out for us. And we do it not just because we are told to. We do it out of our love and appreciation for having access to such a blessed abode. Obedience is the service born out of our faithfulness. And that there is the heart of Emunah, not just believing that Yah exists, but trusting him enough to live according to his design. This is why Rav Shaul wrote, we walk by faith, not by sight, 2 Corinthians 5. Herein lies the whole strategy of transfiguration. Walking by faith, Emunah, means moving according to heaven's blueprint, not the surface circumstances of the world. It's stepping forward based on chazon, supernal vision, not just based on what you see with your natural eyes. This is why King Solomon instructed us with the following wisdom. Trust in Yah with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Know him in all your ways, and he makes all your paths straight. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear Yah and turn away from evil. Proverbs 3:5-7. Chazon means prophetic vision, revealed purpose. Without it, Proverbs 29:18 says, the people perish. Without it, your faith crumbles into an emotionalism. But with it, you move like a son or daughter of Elohim on assignment. Right now, in this 90-day transfiguration journey, I'm not dealing with any theories, false pretenses, or illusions. I'm fully immersed in the thick of life, looking square into my eyes, shining light on the dark areas and shadows of my soul, recognizing the insecurities and emotional instabilities that have occupied space in my life for too long. This is why I've decided to take part in the rectification and reordering of my life according to the living word of Yah. And I can't front, though I feel as good as I've ever felt before walking in the way. There are days and moments when I feel the pressure. Old traumas creeping back up, old cravings whispering and tapping, old habits trying to resurrect from the dead like them vampires from the movie Sinners. But every day, I hold the line. With every fast, with every prayer, with every tear, with every righteous stand. I'm sublimating. I'm transforming. I'm crossing over from flesh, spirit. I'm transfiguring from carnal sight to heavenly Hazon. And what I'm learning is this. Faith builds the house. Trustworthiness holds it up. Obedience moves you through the door so that you can occupy your destiny. And what this all boils down to isn't about perfection from a worldly perspective. It's about progressing to maturity and blameless, to walking in order and by faith. It's about staying loyal to the process, even when you don't see immediate results or feel like taking another step. It's about being able to say, like Paul, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I've kept the faith. 2 Timothy 4:7. Family, with all that is taking place on the world stage, for those with eyes to see, the signs are evident, and it should be clear as day that the time for being immovable in faith is now. The world is collapsing under the weight of its lies, but the household of faith is rising stone by stone, trial by trial, revelation by revelation. And we know that the goal is to attain messianic consciousness. This is the higher calling that the world is not only ignorant about, but also categorically rejects. We, however, who are of the household of faith, with all of our flaws and challenges, with all of our traumas and wounds, seek perfection, knowing that one day that reality will become reality, as it is written. Not that I have already received or already been perfected, but I press on to lay hold of that for which Messiah Yeshua has also laid hold of me. Brothers, I do not count myself to have laid hold of it yet, but only this, forgetting what is behind and reaching out for what lies ahead. I press on toward the goal for the prize of the high calling of Elohim and Messiah Yeshua. 2 Peter 1:10. We are called to be trustworthy, the ones Yah can count on, the ones who walk by faith and not by sight, the ones who move by vision, not by fear. So I charge you, build the house of faith, strengthen it with trustworthiness, animate it with obedience, enter through the doors of destiny, manifest the kingdom. The transfiguration is already underway. The faithful are being crowned. The builders are being sealed. Our master has informed us. The harvest is truly great, but the workers are few. Pray that the master of the harvest would send out workers to his harvest. Let's finish the work. Let's hold the line. Let's keep the vision. Let's walk in faith. Let us know that the kingdom is waiting. So is your transfiguration. Selah.